I'm James. I'm going to be talking about Android open source and what it means for us. We'll explore all about the open source nature of Android today, and there's a lot to go with. So first of all, why is Android open source? Whenever I mention this question, I like highlighting three main keywords: distribute, establish, and expand. So we all know that Google is in possession of the Android trademark and the source code. And Google opts to make Android open source, which means that developers all around the world and other consumers can benefit from this Android source code, no charge whatsoever. So it's completely free, used for testing, used for development, research, you name it. All of this development establishes the Android ecosystem, for which many layers are established in the Android operating system that work on each other to work in unity. This ease of logical operating system logic helps expand the operating system across many OEMs and device manufacturers, as using Android as their main platform. So, as I mentioned before, these 6 layers make up base Android. Now, AOSP can be compiled, built, and even tested upon. So, if you were to compile AOSP and flash it onto your daily driver, you would have a basic version of Android. It wouldn't be used for the general consumer, but many app developers and device engineers opt to use AOSP as their main firmware to test with. You can easily take logs, and there's not many services running. Now, later on, this will be very beneficial because compatibility and stability will be important across different versions of Android. I mentioned that OEMs make use of AOSP by building upon it, but fundamentally the base layers remain constant within. So if the base Android has a bug which has been fixed, it will be fixed throughout with newer Android version, branches, and tags. So why use AOSP? As mentioned before, it's very popular with developers for testing. You don't have as much apps or services running, so if there's an issue you want to tackle with the device, you can easily do that as the logs don't pile up. Obviously, AOSP releases on day 1 with newer updates, so say coming forward in September, October, Android 13 will release on day 1. That gives a bit of leeway for OEM and manufacturers to adapt AOSP to their ecosystem and apps. This obviously improves security via security patches, which are merged monthly. So if there's an exploit which has been figured out throughout the months, that could be merged too. And obviously you will benefit from newer features and API levels for app developers. We move on to issue tracking with AOSP. I mentioned that AOSP is uniform across all Android ecosystems as framework components, hardware components, and of sorts remain constant within. So having an issue tracker with AOSP is very beneficial because you get to debug those lower level codes and they are fixed throughout. Now, anyone can submit an issue tracker, issue report. A report can have how severe the issue is, how much it crops up, and the log for its context. Google has an easy way of reporting bugs. There's developer options and there's like a button you need to press and it sorts everything out for you. However, if you report over another device and the issues within AOSP, it can be handled easily too. We move on to contributing as these go hand in hand. If you're a developer and you've come across a bug and you've figured out the issue exactly via an issue tracker, you are free to submit a change on Google's Jared platform for AOSP. So any developer, you don't need to have any high requirements or skill set. You can submit a change, it will be reviewed by higher developers, and it will be either approved, rejected, stalled, or commented on. Move on to Android custom ROMs. Obviously, custom ROMs are very important. They depend a lot on AOSP. They are built on the Android environment, which is made from AOSP repositories. And custom ROMs are made for alternative device firmware. So going forward, mostly it's popular if a device runs out of support, OEM support, it can be unofficially flashed for newer Android versions. Each custom ROM has a different aim and purpose, either UX design is what it's based on, if it's device compatibility like ImageOS. It depends, and it goes like that. They fundamentally get the Android stock code and they just modify it to work with device source codes, which are widespread throughout the ages if they're out of support, or even if they're recent, because you can have a newer device and you decide to flash a custom ROM on it, something people do. A future with custom ROMs. As mentioned before, your device can run out of support via OEM support, obviously, and you may feel like there's not much purpose anymore for the use of your device. And custom ROMs bring a different aspect to this. You can have a secondary device with a newer firmware, and it can work with the newer Android versions and provide a purpose. Custom ROMs also enable further hardware compatibility. There are device maintainers and AOSP engineers always at work, making sure that newer patches and bugs are being fixed. Most people root their devices with custom ROMs, others overclock it so they can make use of more performance, and others underclock it to lengthen battery life. This can decrease e-waste. I mean, instead of recycling your phone, you can make use of custom ROMs which provide newer API levels and SDK levels for further app compatibility, and even developers can make use of them. Finally, I come to the development side of AOSP. As mentioned before, AOSP is very bare bones, and if you're an app developer, it's quite easy to sandbox the app and test it under different conditions with your compiled SDK tools and API levels, take logs, see if there's crashes, use different devices to make sure hardware is fully being optimized. And where I mostly work in is in system development. Now it's even more popular with the introduction of Android Automotive OS, which is Android made for cars. So these can either be custom ROMs, and they can be interfaced with a new UX or skin for TV, things which is for IoT devices, and obviously custom device development, which I mentioned with older hardware and many devices. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for listening to my speech. I have links over here for Jared and Issue Tracker if you may need those, and these are my socials.
Thank you very much, James.